Hello guys, I decided to make a video kind of at the spur of the moment today just because I got a really good message and it kind of fit with some other messages that I had gotten throughout the week, last week. This one's from Curtis and I'll just jump right into it. He says, hey, let's see, do you have any resources you could recommend for a beginning illustrator in terms of job sites when looking for work? And so I kind of wanted to kind of respond to that. And by job sites, and I had messaged him on Facebook, and I realized that I assumed that by job sites you meant sites like Elance Guru, Odesk, and things like that. I think that there's a hierarchy of work out there. Okay, so there's low paying, and then there's really high paying, and there's everything in between. And I think probably, and I have to be honest. I don't get work on those sites because I don't have accounts there, and I don't look for work there. But I know a lot of people who do, and have known a lot of people who do. And in fact, before I get going on this, I want to make sure I say that those sites have probably become, like godsends for people in other countries. In smaller countries or third world countries or places where the cost of living is much lower than where I live here in the U.S. And that basically what has happened, and I've talked about this in other videos, but I'm going to try to kind of hit this from a different standpoint a little bit in this one, and that is that 20 years ago, you worked in your country of origin, and you worked pretty much local to where you were, and yeah, FedEx was hitting its stride, but a lot of people when I started weren't even using FedEx yet. That was just starting to happen where you could actually live in one city and work for a client in another city. Now, you can live in one country and work for someone clear around the globe somewhere. In fact, when we worked on one of our story apps, we hired a program through Odesk, and the programmer was in Russia. So the world has changed in a hurry. And so things that used to be true aren't true anymore, and things are different. The problem that I see with job sites, basically, and not that it's a problem for some people, obviously, but what you're dealing with is a client who probably doesn't care about you so much. They care about getting the job done. And they're not looking for you. They're looking for anybody that can do that job. That's very different than in the higher job market in illustration, where artists are chosen for their abilities, artists are chosen for their style and for their unique qualities and the things that they bring to the table. If you talk to an editor at a publishing house, they'll talk about the fact that for any particular job they'll create a wish list, and on that wish list they'll rank the artists from top to bottom, one to maybe 4 or 5 illustrators that they'll think of, and they will ask the first one, and if the first one can't do it or turns them down or is busy or asks for too much money, then they'll go to the second one and they'll ask them, and they'll because they've already made out that list of people who they think are perfect for this manuscript or this job, they'll work with those guys. In fact, I know some people who do storyboarding, who do amazing storyboarding, and sometimes they're asked for by name. Do you think we can get so and so to do the storyboards for this movie or this film? And if they can't, then we'll settle for so and so. And if we can't get that person, we'll settle for so. That's very different than the job sites where they don't care who you are, what your name is, where you live. The bottom line most of the time is going to be price. Now, I'm sure that there are some clients on Elance, Guru, and Odesk that are picky in particular, but I think what you're going to see is more jobs that are going like eBay. Basically, eBay is reduce the cost of an item down to the lowest possible amount, or reduce it up. So bid it up to the farthest that it will go. Well, Odesk and Elance and Guru are basically the reverse of that. How low can we go? Can someone undercut the next person? And price is more important than your style. I don't think you should not work. I think you can probably get a lot of good experience working on those. But I think that if you're frustrated and if you're wondering if there's a better world out there than that, there definitely is. But if you're starting out and you're brand new, you might work in those environments and get some experience and improve your style a lot to where you can work your way out of that and work into some higher things. And sometimes people wonder, like, well, why would there be a hierarchy? And I've even talked to some people who don't even know that there are higher paying jobs and jobs where people will pay 10 times, 100 times or more what a job will go for on a job site. And if you think about it in terms of human behavior and think about it in forms of, let's take food, for instance, right? We all have to eat every single day, yet on a Saturday, in the town that I live in, out here in Utah, you could go and get a free hot dog at any number of businesses that want you to come in and look at their furniture or their car or something. And so they're giving food away. Food is free. And right next door, there's an In-N-Out burger, and they're charging you $5 for a hamburger, fries, and a drink, right? So why would someone pay $5 for food when they can get the hot dog for free? Well, it's because they like the hamburger more. And why would somebody, and right across, actually literally probably 100 yards further down the parking lot, there's an Outback Steakhouse. And an Outback Steakhouse, if you go in there and get a steak and get a meal, you're going to be paying $20. Why would somebody pay $20 instead of $5 all at the same time? Do the people in Outback Steakhouse not know about In-N-Out or the free hot dog? And on that level, why would somebody go to Spago, one of Wolfgang Puck's restaurants, and pay, I don't know how much, I've never been to Spago, but they're probably $50, $70, $80 for the meal, and it's just basically that there are different sets of customers with different needs. And you guys, by now, if you're following my channel, you know that I love to plug sbslearn.com, but it actually fits in here because I got an email from a guy who's like, hey, why are you charging for lessons that I can learn on YouTube at sbslearn.com? And basically the answer was easy. I gave him the analogy of the restaurant, that there are different clients, and some clients want something different. You can find a lot of great stuff on YouTube, but usually you have to spend a lot of time clicking on things that aren't teaching you exactly what you wanted to learn, or maybe they're taught by someone who's not really a pro. Maybe it's more of a how-to, not a higher level concept teaching, but more of a this is how I do it kind of a thing, more of a demo. So you can find great stuff on YouTube for free, or you can cut to the chase, which a lot of our clients do, and they basically just want to come straight to us and pay the money and feel confident that they're getting taught by professionals and feel that they're going to get the exact kind of lesson that they want to learn from. So that kind of thing is, I think that really applies to the job site thing. So then Curtis asked, I kind of gave him the answer that I gave you in a really short version. And then he said, okay, so what about putting your portfolio, let's see here. Sorry about that. I need to scroll down a little bit. Because let's see. Where is it? Sorry about that, you guys. Where to begin? I mean, I just didn't know if I was just trying to do the work and post them online. Okay, so yes, he wants to know about like where to post his work online to get work. If not the job site, then where? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about portfolio sites. There are sites out there, and I don't want to list them because I don't want to create any enemies. They're just people that are trying to have a business and everything. But I am going to give you my opinion on portfolio sites. So a portfolio site, and you could type in something like, children's book illustration, and I think one of those will come up pretty quick. You could type in Illustrator portfolios online and probably pull a couple more up. And they're basically sites where you pay a yearly, annual, or monthly fee. It's usually cheaper if you go annual. and you put a portfolio on their site. And the idea is that because they're charging you money, in a sense, that's culling out or in some way kind of through a financial system curating for better stuff, even though it doesn't really, because they're usually about, from what I've seen, about $300 a year. I tried one year just to see, and maybe to go into, I wasn't really going to go into this, but like as a history, there used to be source books called Workbook and Showcase. There's still a few others around, but Workbook and Showcase were the biggest ones. I believe that Workbook still has an online version, but they used to print a big, huge book that was that thick, like a telephone directory. And it used to cost about $3,000 for one page. So for you to own a page and put pictures of your work printed in there with your phone number, because back then we used phone numbers, not email addresses, it was about $3,000. And I used to pay for 2 pages side by side, and it was about $7,000. But it brought in, this is when I was going after advertising work, and it would bring in much more than that. It was, every single time I put work into it, it was very worth it. And people would ask, well, how could you afford to pay that? And it got to the point where it's like, well, how could you not afford to? It was literally bringing in 5, 6, even 7 times as much money as it was costing. And so that was part of my business. That was one part of my advertising, was to put money in there. But the thing is, spending that much money really cut down on the number of people who were willing or able to come up with that money. So the reason the books really worked was because almost every page in there was really good art. And so, excuse me, art directors had to get their hands on a copy of that. There was no internet back then. We're talking about, this was in the 80s and 90s pretty much. And towards the end of the 90s is kind of when the internet, really started to hit its stride. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for those books. They had a good run. But then people started putting their stuff online. And anyway, it was a target-rich environment. If you got one of those books, you would just flip through. If you're an art director, you'd postmark the pages, and then you'd call the illustrator of choice and make an assignment. And they're just, we're talking about hundreds of illustrators, not thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands that we have today that are online. Well, so if a portfolio site charges $300, $300 compared to $3,000 per page is pretty cheap, and a lot of people can come up with $300 to put their stuff on there. So what you end up with is a lot of mediocre work on those sites, and the sites don't typically change over because people, they've paid their money, they want to be seen, and so as an art director, I think you have to reverse engineer this. As an art director, if you go to a portfolio site, you look at the same work, and then maybe a week or two later you go back and it's the same portfolios. There's a few new ones, but it's basically, it looks the same. I call it a dead site. I think they pretty much are dead sites, because what you get, like if you think about your activities during the day, one of the things that you do is you probably log into Facebook and check out and see what's going on. One of the reasons why you check into Facebook is because it's different every single time you get there, right? And so you have this reasonable expectation that you're going to be entertained, that you're going to see something new, but you would not go to Facebook if you were seeing the same posts every single day. And that's what happens with these portfolio sites. And so I think my advice is and basically my observations are that I think that that art directors are going to their social media accounts, their Twitters, their Facebook, and stumbling around on Tumblr and things like that and other blogs, simply because there's a reasonable expectation that they're going to see new and fresh stuff. I mean, when you flip through Tumblr or Instagram, you're seeing new stuff popping up all the time, stuff you've never seen before. You go to a portfolio site, you've seen the same portfolios, because people don't update those portfolios like they do their Tumblr or their Instagram or their Facebook. And people are constantly trying to throw new work on those social media accounts. So here's my advice, is don't pay your money for those. I don't know anybody who's done really well from portfolio sites. I didn't when I put my stuff in there. I got 2 job offers in a year, and I turned both of them down because they were super low paying. Um, but I get work from social media, and I've met a lot of art directors. So my advice would basically first be, your the fact that you're going to attract an art director is directly going to be congruent with the quality of your portfolio. And I've said this before in other videos. If you are doing more of a primitive style, more of a for lack of a better description, if it's not really detail oriented, if it's really painterly or really loose or really quick, a really quick style, you'll probably have a harder time attracting an art director unless it's just really smart work, really great ideas, and unless it just kind of hits that editor or that art director just perfectly. But I do know a lot of people who have solely made their careers on social media for free, simply because they can tweet to art directors, they can friend editors and art directors, and establish those relationships. And I think that the other powerful thing is that if you do friend, if you get accepted, your friend request, or you get followed by an art director or something, they get to see the kind of stuff that you're posting. They get a glimpse into your personality. I do think it's a mistake to be really cold and just to post work without showing a side of your personality. We as humans on this earth have a flaw, and that is that we like to work with people that we like. We would much rather work with someone that we like than someone that we don't know at all, who could be nice and that we could like, but we know we like this person over here. So you've heard the term, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, that's very true. If someone is tweeting images and is making an art director laugh, or is saying things that the art director is interested, maybe this person has followed this art director on Twitter and sees, oh, this art director is into whatever it is also on the side, and I have a common interest there. I'm going to tweet some stuff about that too, and oh yeah, here's my artwork. And pretty soon that art director would rather work with you than someone just a cold call from a portfolio or something like that. So I think that is a better route to go. It sounds easy, it sounds common, but again, the it's all about the work. And I've said this before in other videos too. If your portfolio is like riding a bike. If your work needs work, if your work is lackluster, it's like trying to pedal a bike with flat tires. It'll move, it'll roll, but it'll never coast. If your work is really great, it's like your tires are pumped up. It doesn't take much effort, and off you go, and you can coast along, and people will respond to you. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. I don't think there's any easy way in. I think that it's just about being consistently posting your work and waiting to kind of get discovered by people. That and or do your own projects, create your own dreams and your own businesses and things to sell. If you look at some of my videos, if you go back a ways, I have one that's a 3-parter, and I can't remember the exact title of it, but it's something like my message to freelance illustrators or something like that. I highly recommend watching that one too, because it goes right along with what I think you need to do to be successful today as an illustrator, as an artist. And that's basically all that I have on this one. Thanks for watching, and do not subscribe unless you want to see more videos like this.